Babes in Spyland. How Now, Sad Cow. Episode 8. Neither of them should have been driving. Especially not T-Ruffle's custom sports car. But Bunnynose had been fairly persuasive, and, in the end, he'd relented. The threats of dumping lemon juice into his remaining milk vats had probably helped. They'd called in agents to secure Steve Mister, left Spike in charge, and bolted. Calling Mud back proved to be fruitless. Of course, they'd been traveling through some winding hills, and the reception wasn't great. Amphibian Queen had let it ring once or twice. Mud technically couldn't have them tarred and feathered when they got back. Technically, they'd tried to get a hold of her. After a quick stop for drive-through burgers and fries, Agent Bunnynose pulled into Social's driveway, and Agent Amphibian Queen jumped out of the car before the dust from their arrival caught up with them. Her chest, hand, and back hurt from the airbag impact, but she always had SSA-grade painkillers with her. She and Bunnynose had both taken some, which meant they would be good for a while. One of the agents from the LA office walked up to meet Amphibian Queen. "Supervisor Mudd said you two weren't coming back." Bunnynose got out of the car and moved around the man. Amphibian Queen did her best to smile pleasantly. "We have a security situation." She held up her phone and showed him Lady Cluck's picture. "Has this woman arrived?" The man shook his head. "I'm not sure." "Can you check?" Amphibian Queen looked at the tablet the man was holding where the guest list should be. He stared at her blankly. "She's here," Bunnynose called over her shoulder, having apparently found someone with more information, or maybe she was simply more intimidating. "If you see this woman," Amphibian Queen said to the agent in front of her, emphasizing her words by shoving the picture closer to his face, "you will immediately detain her. She does not get out. Call the agent in charge and make sure he or she knows as well." She looked past him. "Where's Social?" The man's mouth still hung agape for a moment before his brain caught up. "Last I saw her, she was in the ballroom." Bunnynose had reached the metal detector. Amphibian Queen rushed to catch up, tossing her weapons and phone to the guy manning the now completely concealed machine. With a deep breath of satisfaction, Amphibian Queen let the pungent aroma of the flowers calm her as she walked through. She had to keep herself from sneezing. Her allergy meds must be wearing off, but it was worth it. The guards balked at Bunnynose's flannel shirt and running shorts, but said nothing as she snatched her stuff back from them and walked into the garden party. Besides the lanterns, flowers, and fountains, tiny pinpricks of fluttering light winked from the trees and bushes. Bright but unobtrusive music played from everywhere at once, and Amphibian Queen could see that most of the guests were drinking cocktails and talking in small groups. The croquet course had a crowd around it, and a long line stood waiting to try badminton. "What's the fastest way to get to the ballroom?" Amphibian Queen asked. Bunnynose pointed. "Through the agents!" A panicked squeal came from their right. Both agents turned to see Social Know-All, dressed in a long flowing lavender spring gown, peekaboo golden heels, and more jewelry than any one person should be allowed to wear, coming toward them at a dangerous speed. Dangerous because spiked heels never went well on cobblestones. "Agents!" Social reached them and grasped each one by the upper arm. She gulped for breath, as if she'd been looking for them for days. "I'm so glad you're here." Between the metal detector, happy cows, sloshing milk, the saboteur at the chocolate factory, taut guys, and CB, Amphibian Queen thought she'd maxed out on the weird factor for the day. But the practically friendly voice Social used on them, not to mention the desperation in her words, took this assignment to a whole new level. Agent Bunnynose's mouth hung open, ready to catch any random bugs that might wander by. Amphibian Queen gathered her wits, which took a second, before she responded. "We got the guest list, and I'm sorry to say you have a big security risk here." Social waved a hand. "This whole party is a security risk. That's normal." She craned her neck and checked over her shoulder. "My problem is those horrible agents Mudd sent as your replacements." Lowering her voice, she leaned in close. "They're awful. They make Agent Rabbit Ears here look like a sweet puppy dog." Bunnynose blinked and furrowed her brow. Social didn't give either of them a chance to respond. "Come along, the reception is about to start." The woman hauled the two agents forward with remarkable strength. "You need to get dressed, Then you must get those other two out of here. Amphibian Queen tried to protest, but Social kept muttering about the horrible agents and ignoring her. If Social is asking, Mud can't get mad at us, Bunny Nose said softly. Now that was a good point. Amphibian Queen allowed herself to be led down the uneven path toward the main house. Social swerved between a couple of bushes, and shoved them past two startled guards into a small cottage that should have housed garden tools. Instead, they found a stairway, which they descended, and a hallway that led to a staffed beauty salon. Amphibian Queen gave her partner a shocked glance, but Bunny Nose didn't look surprised. She must have explored this part of the estate. 3 women and 1 man sat on poofy couches, looking at magazines and laughing. The sweet tang of professional hair-grade hair products filled the air, and the array of pastel clothes on a rack along the far wall sent Amphibian Queen's color wheel into immediate overload. Janae. Social's urgent tone had all 3 people on their feet. These 2 need to be outfitted and ready to go in 30 minutes. 4 sets of eyes roamed from the top of Amphibian Queen's head, over every inch of her body, down to her feet, and back up, taking in everything, missing nothing. She had never felt so exposed, not even wearing that dental floss bikini in Dubai. Once they finished with her, they gave Bunny Nose the same uncomfortable once-over. Then, with the critical eye of scientists, they moved forward as a pack, hands reaching for the 2 agents. Social gave their arms a squeeze and let go. Set them loose when you're finished. It was by far the quickest and most effective makeover Agent Amphibian Queen had ever received. She felt like she'd been shoved into a cartoon. One of those moments where all of the characters swarm around something that used to be a 2-foot-tall wilted tree, and when they step back, the tree emerges as a 16-foot-tall spruce, complete with decorations and a nest of birds living in it. 27 minutes after Social left, the 2 agents stood outside the little cottage, facing the garden. Amphibian Queen grinned at her partner. You look adorable. Shut up, Bunny Nose scowled. While flowery pastel summer dresses weren't her style, Bunny Nose did look cute. More like a little girl with her blonde pigtails and warrior sandals than a trained secret agent of death. It was a nice change. Why didn't I get the pants? Bunny Nose demanded. Amphibian Queen looked down at her own tight white pants and flowing, sexy, low-cut blouse. The pants are too long for your short legs. Bunny Nose rolled her eyes and put on CB's running shorts under the dress. When Amphibian Queen frowned at her, she glared. How am I supposed to kick anyone with this stupid dress on? I mean, modestly. Laughing, Amphibian Queen nestled 2 guns into her own outfit and started toward the main doors. Let's go. Time to catch us a naughty nun. They walked to the edge of the gardens and were about to step onto the path when Bunny Nose grabbed Amphibian Queen by the arm and yanked her back. Hey! Amphibian Queen protested. Bunny Nose jerked her head toward the front door. Looks like Social locked the house down. Before we got there? Amphibian Queen peered through the bushes and found 8 people from 4 different agencies standing at the top of the steps. The touristy clothes on the guards didn't entirely hide the gun bulges, and most of the earpieces were visible. Looks like she locked the new pair in charge out of the mansion. We could get past them, but it's going to take time. And if Lady Cluck gets wind of this, she might bolt. Bunny Nose waved Amphibian Queen after her. Follow me. They wound their way through the spacious garden to a statue of a fairy playing a flute sitting on the leaf of a plant. It stood taller than Amphibian Queen, and the base measured 3 feet across. The statue sat in a ring of hedges, hardly visible until you stumbled upon it. Bunny Nose kicked the corner of the base, then pressed on a cobblestone with her foot. One side of the base slid down, revealing a set of stairs. How did you find that? Amphibian Queen raised her eyebrows. Persistence, Bunny Nose said. And it leads to the house? It leads into the bathroom of the ballroom. Amphibian Queen let that sink in. And no one else knows about it? Bunny Nose shrugged. Social, I guess. But if there aren't any guards here, you can bet those slackers we left to finish security missed it. Well, Amphibian Queen said, let's go. She looked around to make sure no one saw them and descended into the tunnel. Dark, dank air pressed against her when she got to the bottom. Pulling out her phone, she activated the flashlight. It's not far, Bunny Nose said, and there aren't any side tunnels. She was right. They jogged along the uneven stone floor, and after a short minute they came to a set of stairs leading up. They ascended silently and stopped at a door. Pressing her ear against the wood surface, Amphibian Queen listened. Nothing. She looked at Bunny Nose. It comes out next to the long mirrors in the bathroom, Bunny Nose said. Crack it. Amphibian Queen reached out and put her fingers on the knob, still listening. After a few breaths, she turned and pushed. The door moved a tiny bit, and a sliver of light shot into them. She pressed her eye up to the space and peered through. "Anyone?" Bunnynose asked. No, at least not that she could see. Amphibian Queen pushed the door open more. It only let out a small squeak of protest, and stuck her head through. The ornately tiled and painted bathroom stood empty. She slipped through the opening and quickly checked the stalls. No feet. Bunnynose appeared beside her and shut the door behind them. "It opens if you push on that." She pointed at a carved grape cluster on the wall. A pair of high-pitched voices floated toward them from outside. Amphibian Queen stepped toward the sink and started washing her hands. Bunnynose did the same. The two women who came in didn't give them a second glance as they went into separate stalls. "Let's go," Amphibian Queen mouthed, drying her hands. They exited into a short hall that led to the ballroom. Agent Amphibian Queen repressed a groan of jealousy. The room beyond stretched for a good 100 feet and rose an impressive 25 feet high. Carved pillars led up to a ceiling painted and decorated with bowls of fruit, Cupid depictions, and ornate leafwork. Golds and creams dominated the walls, giving a beautiful contrast to the inlaid wood floors. Guards stood at the far door and along the walls at regular intervals, the serious, shoot first and never ask questions kind. Amphibian Queen's heels clicked on the lacquered floor as they walked forward. The bulk of the crowd stood near the middle of the room, around a fountain that dribbled light pink chocolate surrounded by tasty things to drown in it. The rest of the crowd was split between a table covered with elaborately displayed truffles and the bar. 3 rows of chairs sat before a long workbench at the front of the room. Unlike the rest of the decor, the table didn't fit in. Instead of food, it held scientific experimentation equipment, computers, a projector, and... Amphibian Queen blinked. She hadn't expected to see CB again this soon, and she really hadn't expected to find him here, wearing a lab coat over his jeans and white shirt. She smacked Bunnynose on the arm. "Check out the table." The look on her partner's face almost made her laugh out loud. It was pretty hard to surprise Bunnynose, but apparently this had done it. "What's he doing here?" Bunnynose grumbled. One of the senior security agents from SSA strode up to CB, and the two of them started to chat. It seems like he's someone of consequence, Amphibian Queen thought. As much as she'd love to tug on this thread until it unraveled, they had more important things to worry about. Or, in this case, someone who needed their attention more than CB did. "We'd better find Lady Cluck." Amphibian Queen surveyed the room again and made a plan. "You go that way, I'll go this way, and we'll meet up by the other door." Bunnynose nodded. "Got it." Amphibian Queen gave CB one last curious glance before she started her sweep. A knot of large, blond men standing nearby could certainly be hiding Lady Cluck in their ranks. However, a walk-by revealed the inside of their circle to be empty. One of the men gave Amphibian Queen an appraising look as she passed. She wasn't sure if he was appreciating the outfit or sizing her up as a threat. The guy was built like a mercenary, so maybe he was someone's security. He gave her a confident smile, revealing a dimple in each cheek. While blondes weren't her first pick, he was cute. Amphibian Queen smiled back and kept walking. The first thing she noticed about the next clump of people was that they were all men wearing sensible shoes, and they smelled faintly of animals and dirt. Their choice of beer over wine, and the fact that they all looked slightly uncomfortable to be here, solidified her suspicion that they were the livestock ranchers. No Lady Cluck there, although one of them did give her a comprehensive head-to-toe with his eyes and let out a low whistle as she walked by. She smiled and made a mental note to thank Janae and her team for their outstanding work. By the time Amphibian Queen got to the drink table, she'd passed a group of billionaires, 2 scientists, and a couple of security guys who were doing a terrible job of blending in. Feeling out of place without anything in her hands, Amphibian Queen picked up a glass of water. Just as she did, her phone buzzed. She drew it out, saw it was Bunnynose, and answered. "Good news?" "Unfortunately not. I just got an alert that Lady Cluck was spotted outside the house." It seemed odd. Amphibian Queen had thought Lady Cluck would want to be where the action was. "I'm on my way." She hung up, downed her water, and placed the glass on a passing tray. Before she had a chance to put her phone away, it buzzed again, this time with an incoming message from D-Base. What did they find now? She muttered as she swiped the message to life. Steve Mister's face from the chocolate factory leered up at her. Under it, The description read, Steve Jensen, Swiss Secret Service, Department of Agriculture and Security. Swiss Secret Service? There was more, so she continued to scroll. 4 additional faces sat under the heading, Known Associates. Amphibian Queen cursed under her breath when she saw the first one. The pool boy Bunny-Nose had caught sneaking back into the property after meeting with his girlfriend stared back at her. The remaining 3 looked suspiciously like the blonde men she'd just walked by. She jerked her head to where the group of buff blondes had been standing, but the space was empty. Social's voice filled the room. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We'll begin in 5 minutes. Amphibian Queen took a moment to think. The Swiss had, for some reason, decided they needed to sabotage Social's milk. They were at the party, but why? On top of that, Lady Cluck was here. Was Lady Cluck working with the Swiss? Or did Amphibian Queen have 2 separate problems? Amphibian Queen dialed Bunny-Nose, who had gone for the front door. But when she put the phone to her ear, she got a burst of static so loud, she jerked her head away. The SSA had all sorts of electrical disruptive devices. Some simply interrupted all incoming and outgoing signals in a small area. When that happened, their phones sounded just like hers had. Who had set this one off? Had it been one of their people? One of the Swiss? Or someone else? Something wasn't right. Amphibian Queen went for her gun, ready to go after Bunny-Nose, but a large hand fastened around her upper arm. Bunny-Nose had been helping her with her hand-to-hand training, and they'd gone over this very scenario many times. Amphibian Queen spun, just like she was supposed to, and felt the man's fingers losing their grip. Unfortunately, her attacker proved to be faster. He grabbed her free hand, pulled it around her back, and twisted so she couldn't move without dislocating something. Which she was willing to do, but before she got the chance, a single shot rang out. The deafening sound halted most people in their tracks. When several pieces of plaster rained down on the crowd, they ducked. All except those being held at gunpoint by the Buff Blonde Man Brigade.